Hey guys, welcome to Something Like Therapy. On today's episode, Jess and I are going to be talking about something we're calling leaving the 9 to 5. So we're just going to share some thoughts and experiences on what that whole boom of people leaving the 40-hour work week grind and stepping into the world of side hustle and what that looks like, what it's looked like for us, what it's looked like for friends that we know. So stick around. Hopefully this is a topic that is close to your heart or something you may be going through. And without further ado, let's get the show started. Hey guys, welcome back. Thank you for coming back. Hopefully we didn't scare you with that first episode. But I guess if you're listening to my beautiful voice, that means you didn't get scared and you wanted to come hear some more. So again, welcome. We're just here getting, or still going through, I guess, but it's kind of over our little snow day we got, which was crazy.
It's always just a big tease in the high desert.
Yeah, we don't get I would love to live like back east or somewhere where it gets snow, but like I don't want to have to actually do things in it, like go to the store or go to work or just anything outside. I just want to look from, in front of my fireplace out the window and see snow.
Within 5 minutes, we were like yelling at our dog because she was coming back in just completely soaked and muddy and like, yeah, we don't want to really deal with snow, but it's beautiful.
Yeah, the movies are a lie. They always they show people like in the snow and like their shoes aren't wet, their clothes aren't wet when they come in.
Yeah,
it's
no,
like,
true.
Snow is just rain that's frozen. So
well, but then again, it's like it has to be in an area where it's like freezing and it doesn't melt right away.
Yeah,
so,
like legit snow.
Legit
we get California snow, which
Anyways, we digress.
So that's our day right now. So hopefully your day is going good and it's not covered in wet snow. But so yeah, today we're going to be talking about something that has definitely been on our minds because we are literally going through it. But we wanted to talk a little bit about sort of going off of the title of the episode, leaving the 9 to 5. So just really wanted to hit on some points, conversations we've had. In regards to this whole kind of craze. I wouldn't call it a craze because a craze makes it sound like it's something that's like not going to last, like it's a trend or something. But this whole shift in like our society of, the typical 40-hour work week, 9 to 5 job, going to school, going to college, getting a degree, getting a good job, and then just doing that job until you retire or die. That's kind of just obviously changed within this last 10, 15 years where, it's just been a boom of people thinking outside the box and figuring out ways to make money and survive without having to be a prisoner to that 9 to 5 schedule. So we wanted to talk about that today. There's a lot of things we want to, kind of get off our chest, I guess you can say, or just kind of share with you guys and hopefully get some input back from you on maybe if you're going through that, know someone who's going through that, what has been working, what doesn't work, how you're dealing with it, all of that good stuff. So
I kind of wanted to start it with some, some stats, but also there is actually a word for it's not a craze. It's it actually started right after COVID, and it's called the Great Resignation. So
I like that.
It's and we saw it obviously. COVID kind of started. I think a lot of people were probably already going through this, but like COVID really sparked up a lot of, like, hey, should we be doing this? Should we go back to 9 to 5? We kind of liked hanging out at home. Even though we were forced, it just really stirred up something inside of us. So we're like, we don't want to keep going back to this.
A lot of people were kind of forced, if they were fortunate enough to have a type of career or a company that would allow them to work from home. And then, so they did that. And then once things got better and you could start going back to the, your typical workforce day, they kind of were like, hey, can maybe I just continue doing this from home? And then the thing is that the reason why they were able to, because businesses, they're smart about it. They're like, dude, we can save some money. We don't have to have offices. We don't got to pay them to come over here. So
going remote was just like it really changed what, a 9 to 5 could look like. But unfortunately, a lot of companies were like, no, we need you back in the building. Whatever, they have their reasons, but that's the reason why people just were like, well, then I can't stay home, then I ain't going back.
Yeah, I'll figure out what I can do from home.
So I'm going to give you just a few stats. These are based from like 2021 to 2022. So on average, 4 million Americans are quitting their jobs each month in 2022. In the month of August of 2022, at least 4.2 million Americans quit their jobs. The month with the most American resignations was November of 2021, with a whopping 4.5 million quit their jobs. So throughout 2021, an average of 3.98 million workers left their jobs every single month. So about 40% of employees are thinking about leaving their jobs within the next 3 or 6 months in 2022. 47 million Americans left their jobs by the end of 2021. Wow. 47 million Americans were just like, bye, I'm out. And this is one last little stat, of course, which is kind of makes sense to me. The food industry and accommodation industry was like the highest, with 6.9% quitting rates. But what I found really interesting was like the fourth one was professional and business. We're at 3.7 quitting rates. And what that told me is that people were leaving their careers. They were like, whether they went to school or whatever it was, like they were willing to leave what they thought was going to be their forever job. So that tells me that people were ready for change no matter how much it cost them. So the 9 to 5 was just not an option anymore. So, wow.
Yeah. That's crazy. I mean, and again, makes sense, like what you said, right after COVID, and maybe my 10 to 15 year, what I said earlier is probably being a little bit crazy. That was 15 years ago. People were not thinking outside the box quite yet. I mean, there were some, but not as much as prevalent as it is now. And it makes sense after COVID.
Yeah. I think back then people were like, those people were dreamers, people were like, oh, I would love to like leave my job. Now there's just so many options that you could leave your job,
Exactly. Yeah, definitely the COVID, pushed people into this kind of way of thinking, which kind of leads to what, I wanted to at least talk about first, where it really is a matter of, because I'm going just recently, or still am going through this, where kind of leaving that kind of, 9 to 5, 40-hour work week, and just taking that leap of faith. That's what we've been calling it. And honestly, it really was, I think the first step was really just identifying the priorities I have in life. And that was I remember so many conversations Jess and I had, in bed, just about, thinking like, okay, tomorrow I gotta work, I gotta go early, we're gonna have to be staying later, or it's gonna be, maybe possibly this weekend having to go in, and just, feeling so stressed like everyone. But just, I just remember Jess always telling me like, well, it's up to you. You just really have to take into consideration what you want. And that was kind of a foreign thing for me to think, because it's like, not like being a husband and dad, you're like a prisoner, even though, as I'm sure the men out there can kind of relate. We kind of feel like that sometimes, but it's sort of like you just have to take, really think about like what is important. And of course, having that stability, or having that reassurance of, that paycheck's going to be there no matter what, as long as I get to work, no matter how tired I am, how stressed I am, just go to work so I can get the paycheck and make the mortgage payment. Like, yeah, in a way, it's weird to say that there's comfort in that, because, well, there is, like, it's the for sure paycheck, but you also are prioritizing that, feeling that comfort over spending time with your kids. I was just talking with my friend, like, your kids are only this age one time. And yes, it's important to be there for them in a, supporting, man role, bringing home the money. But, so many older people I've talked to, like, they look back and they're just like, yeah, I missed from ages 7 to 20. Like, I don't really remember, like, I was there, on certain ball games and stuff like that, but you miss the little things. And it's sort of like, well, you talk to some people where they're like, well, that's just a sacrifice you have to make. And it's like, do I though? Like, do I really? Yeah.
Oh, and it's interesting too, because it's like as a kid, you're told like you can do whatever you want, you can be whatever you dream of, but yet, especially in our school system, they're taught to pick a career. Pick what do you want to be? You want to be a police officer? Do you want to be a fireman? Do you want to be a doctor? Like, no one's ever told like, hey, do you want to be your own boss? No one's ever like, hey, do you ever dream about having your own company and kind of, being able to make your own schedule? Like, you're not, it's implemented into us like very young age that you have to pick a 9 to 5 type of career,
Well, remember I was telling you, sorry to cut you off, but I was telling you that thing I read on how Rockefeller back in like the early 1900s invested like 130 million into the education system, into the school system. And he literally in an interview or something said like it's because the school system makes workers.
Yeah.
And that's what people who are the one percenters, they want a society of workers, societies, of workers who know you go here at this time, you get to get out at this time. If you do good here, you get to, be recognized, get promoted and all that. So it just makes people complacent. It makes people, like you said, just workers. So,
well, I think like, I'm not sure. I hope I'm not like messing it up, but I think he said, we want to raise workers, not dreamers, people that don't think outside the box. Like, that's dangerous for, any
for the
type
rich.
of,
Yeah, because,
so, but, it's, like, Derick mentioned, it was a leap of faith because you have to undo a lot of the things that you were taught as you were growing up, not just by your parents, but, by society, our education system, like commercials, TV shows, you see, I think of like the King of Queens, like, he just like, I think even in the song, it's like, I love getting off of work and just coming home to you, like,
yeah.
I love that show. But it's like a seed, and everything that you see that we've been exposed to, it's a seed of just like, yeah, that's just what you do. So when you go against the grain and you try to do something different, you do get some shame. You do get, a little bit of, backlash of just like, well, you're just lazy and you don't want to work, like, and it's like, no, it actually takes a lot more work to not do a 9 to 5,
Yeah.
because now you go into a different type of hustle and you got to get creative and you put yourself in a stressful situation of like, oh shoot, each like the bills still, they don't go down, like they stay the same. You still have to make what you need to make, you still have to make the payments that you need to make on the monthly basis no matter what. Like, that doesn't change,
Yeah, I like what you said there, that it's pretty much, people think, if you get the typical 9 to 5er, which I'd say now is like the boomers that are still around and stuff, where they look at the millennials and the Gen Z and they're just like, oh, it's a generation of just lazy. They just want, they want it all easy. And it's like, dude, they just want to sit around and make TikTok videos. Bro, have you made TikTok videos? You know how much editing goes into that?
Right?
Like, it's hard stuff. Yeah,
it's
they're
freaking
not
time consuming.
Yeah, you're not building railroads or like freaking skyscrapers, but it's like it's a lot of mental work, behind a computer. So, but not even if you're doing TikTok, just if you decide like I don't want to do the 9 to 5, you're not saying I don't want to work and I'm lazy and I just want money just to come easy. No, you're just saying I'm like giving that style of working and taking on a whole different style, which is just as hard. I might even venture to say it's probably harder because
Most
it isn't
definitely.
consistent. It isn't like just show up, do this task, and you'll get paid. It's like you wake up, no one telling you what to do, but you better figure it out. Because like Jess said, that mortgage is still due on the first, bro. Like you have to figure it out. Why do you think there's been such a boom in like all the deliveries, the Ubers and things like that, everyone's trying to side hustle, which now it's become like, if you would have done this earlier, all those opportunities were probably there and you could get like side hustle gigs a lot easier. But now everyone and their mama's doing a side hustle. Like, I mean,
So
hey,
now you really gotta
yeah,
you really gotta hustle to get those shifts.
that's what I'm saying.
You
Like,
really have to.
I do Amazon Flex, you know, like, and when I go and like all day, I'm trying to get a block, trying to get a block. And then when I do and I go, like, I've shown up and there's like the demographic of the people I see are like guys my age, girls my age. I see, you know, people showing up with their kids. I see old people doing it. I see, you know, like really young 18-year-olds doing it. So it's like everyone's doing it. So it's, you know, become harder. But
Yeah.
like I said, I did like what you said, that it is hard, and if anything it is even probably more stressful, which that's kind of what I wanted to kind of segue into, just like this, you begin to feel that stress, and that's something that's, you know, hits home a lot, because one, I'm already a stressful person, but like kind of going through all this, that stress of all the bills and the mortgage and all this like begins to pile up on my shoulders, and I want to fall back into, like, so many times I've already gone on Indeed or whatever searching for just like, well, let me just go back to what I was doing. Let me just, you know, hey,
Yeah.
I got this education, I got this degree. I'm going to fall back and just go back into, you know, what I was, the career I was doing. Just do the Monday through Friday, do the 9 to 5 because, hey, bills got to get paid. But it's like, it's so easy to fall back into that. And we literally, Jess and I had conversations just recently on like, we're losing focus on why you even took that leap of faith, why we started this.
Yeah, I just you know, a couple of things. I read another stat that was like 1 in 4 people that leave their jobs actually stay away from the 9 to 5. The other 3 end up going back. And, you know, honestly, and I want to say this because I don't want people to think like you know, you're dumb for doing a 9 to 5, or like, oh, you're not a dreamer. Like, no, some people actually function better under, you know, a more structured, and I know what I need to do. I know where I need to go every day. And, you know, that's good. Like, I'm glad.
Me, I'm some people.
but, you know, the thing is like with you, you've tried that. You tried going to a, you know, a 9 to 5 kind of job. You know, you had a career that you knew where you had to go and what you had to do every day, but it got very mundane, right? Like, you were just like, oh, this is very, I don't want to say boring, but it just gets very routine. And then you kind of, you don't, how can I say this? Like, without sounding like a jerk, like you realize it's like, well, what's my purpose? Like, what am I really doing? What's, you know, is this really what I'm meant to do, is kind of invest my whole life into somebody else's career or somebody else's business, and I'm not really going to have anything to show after, other than like, you know, whatever, a little retirement fund or, you know, whatever. Like, so
Maybe you'll get Social Security, maybe not.
yeah, but I just want to say that if you are on a 9 to 5 type of job and you are actually thriving and you're like, you know, you're doing really well, then hey, that's freaking awesome. Some people work better under that. Some people can't handle the unknown or the mystery or the hustle and the struggle of like, oh my God, today I really have to get out there and, you know, I don't care, like, you know, where you're on your phone all day, like, you know, looking for blocks or looking for whatever kind of shifts. And, you know, I mean, we've gotten pretty lucky and it's been great, but some people don't want to have that stress and anxiety of like, I need to make my way through this, you know, like, yeah.
And everyone's, you know, like you said, everyone's different. Like, there are people that like, hey, they went 18, they got into a good company, have now worked there the last 20 years. They're already like, dude, if I retire now, I got a pension.
Yeah.
I already saved a 401k. Hey, kudos to you, man. Like, maybe that was fine for you. Maybe like you didn't get stressed, and that's awesome. You're a hard worker and you put in the time and you deserve it. I mean, we were talking about, you know, Jessica's mom who came on, you know, a pension that was, you know, she didn't even know she had, and it was just like Jess was telling her, it's all that hard work you put in those years, and now you get to reap that, you know, what you made from it. So Yeah,
And also,
definitely.
like we were telling our son, he started welding so young and now he's going to school and he has the opportunity, at 20, he's been welding for like a year now, right?
Yeah, almost
So,
2 years. So
yeah,
it's
almost 2 years. He's going to be 21. And, we encourage him, like, hey, dude, get into a freaking union. Like, if this is what you really want to do.
yeah,
And also, one other thing, like, not not everything has to be like permanent. Like you could do something like our son could do something for the next 10 years and earn a really good living, and then when he's in his 30s, like, hey, I don't want to do this anymore, I want to try something else. Cool, you have the freedom to do that. So
exactly.
not everything's permanent, we all change, and yeah, so
Yeah, and like I said, when we were talking about that, kind of another segue into really asking yourself, and I had this conversation with a good friend, and we were talking about kind of this same topic about just the stress of things, and looking at things differently, and that's the whole thing. It's just really looking at things differently, especially if you come from where your parents were hard workers and they installed that in you, and so you just think that's the way it has to be. And it's kind of like what I'm have been feeling, and it's been like literally having to tear myself away from the foundational thought of, no, you just go to work, you're tired, but you just go, you put in the time, and that's it. Like, you can't not have a job. That's always my dad told me, if you ever leave a job, make sure you have a job. Like, that's just because, and it's not like, oh, they were just so dumb and they didn't know. It's because they didn't know. Like, that's just what they come from generations of hard workers, hard workers, hard workers. So
I mean, to be fair, we tell our son that too.
exactly. And we also try to show him both sides. So yeah, pretty much what I was saying is, like, just trying to tear myself away from that thought. And anyways, going back to the conversation on my friend where he asked, like, what is your idea of success? And he was like, there's no wrong answer. Like, everyone probably has a different answer, but the first thing I thought was just like, oh, well, just having freedom, which money can give people freedom. And he's like, okay, so wealth and freedom, like, that's perfectly fine. And so, but it really made me think, just answering the question of, like, yeah, like, you really have to change your view on what you think success is. And if like we mentioned earlier, if working that 9 to 5 and putting in your time and having a pension, having a 401k, and being able to retire at 60 or something, if that's success, then stay at it, stay the course. If wanting to do something outside of the box and be your own boss and make your own schedule and try to be successful there, then go that route. Or maybe it doesn't even revolve around something business or career. Maybe like my friend said, his idea of success is just having a loving family, raising kids that are loving and empathetic and compassionate. Like, he's focused on being a dad. Like, if that's success, then that is your success. Like, so you figure out a way to do that, to make ends meet, but still be able to, like, put your time and energy into that focus, that passion. Which that's been a word that we've been throwing around this last, like, month or so. Like, what is your passion? What do you want to do? And I'm kind of like in the middle of this 30-day, just removing myself from trying to figure out what's my next step, to just, like, okay, erase that from your mind. There is no next step. Who are you? What do you want? Like, what is going to truly make you feel successful, make you feel joy? And I think a lot of people really have to do that. We just don't give ourselves the space and the time to actually do that, because we're so consumed and wrapped up with, like, oh, my job or this or that, and it's like we don't ever take the time for that self-care. And I know self-care is probably like a whole other topic that whole episode we can talk about.
Yeah, that'll probably be our next one. But just really quick, I just want to say, like, there's this step that you can't really skip when you're going from a 9 to 5 to now some type of, like, oh my gosh, I lost my like, entrepreneur, or your own business, like business owner or whatnot. Anyways, the step you can't really skip is to deprogram yourself, because if you are still trying to make something of your own, like something, whatever, you will create something new, or build your own business, like, and you still have the 9 to 5 mentality, it's just not going to work. Because really, when you go from a 9 to 5 to now you're kind of trying to be your own boss, you're actually working 24/7. Like, you're not, it's never not a moment that you're not thinking, and you're like hustling, and you're trying to like, well, what do I need to do, what's my next step? So if you're still trying to think like a 9 to 5 type of mentality, it's, I hate to break it to you, like, it's probably not going to work. Yeah. Now, what that has shown us is that we need to be very mindful of where we're spending our time and how we're spending it. Because we still have to be like on a schedule. Like when we go to the gym, like, we have to clock in at the gym at 9 a.m. Like, as if you're going to work, because that's like your time. Like, because your time, every single minute, every single hour, like, you're doing something because it's valuable. And now the time that you waste it's time you could have been, like us doing our podcast, or, you could get a shift. Like, so the 9 to 5, mentality is something you kind of have to start tearing down, because you're kind of on the clock 24/7,
and that was one thing. I'm glad you reminded me, because I wanted to talk about that, like using your time wisely, like, because when you're so used to like, okay, I got up at 6, had to be at work by 7, blah, 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 but then when you wake up and there's nowhere that you actually, like you said, clock in, like, I mean, we try to do that with the gym, but there's no one like, oh, you're 5 minutes late. But I'm saying, like, there's no one.
We hold each other accountable.
Exactly. You need that accountability, because if you just wake up, there's been many a day where we wake up and, got on our phone, or someone sent us a TikTok or whatever, and then it's just, we look and it's like 38 minutes later, I'm still scrolling through TikTok, like, oh my gosh. So it's like, that's so important, and it's been like friggin' pulling teeth, but we finally, and thanks to Jess, because it wouldn't have been me, but buying a whiteboard, doing a schedule, like Monday this is boom boom boom, Tuesday this is boom boom boom, and really being consistent and sticking to that. Like, it even has on there making our beds as soon as we wake up in the morning. That's like so key. Like, again, another episode, but like just sticking to a schedule, because again, you can like make that leap of faith, and I was guilty of it in the beginning. Take that leap of faith, quit your job, remove yourself from that kind of environment, and then you're just like, oh, I'm gonna like begin working on my passions and doing this, and I want to do podcasts, and I want to do TikTok videos and side hustles. But then you're just sitting around not doing it, and you're just like, well, why did you leave at least the comfort? You had comfort of getting a paycheck every week. Now you remove that, and then you're not following your passion or doing what you wanted to do. Every day we had idea at work, and like, God, if I could just be off today, I would get so much done. And then just look at myself like, wow, I have gotten nothing done today. Yeah. So it's like using that time wisely, so that you can, because we always say, like, I would work, you could work 8 hours for a company. I would rather work 8 hours. I'd rather work 10, 12, 15 hours a day doing something that is my own, creating something, or being my own boss. Like, I'll put in all the hours for that. Like Jess said, so many people are consumed, or they're just kind of brainwashed into working for others. You're making a company rich. You're making someone else rich. You're making someone else's dreams come true. You working for someone else. So really taking that time to do what you want to do, and using your time wisely.
And understanding that you are removing yourself from a structured, very, routine type of place to zero structure. And knowing that you now have to be the one that has to create that structure.
Yeah.
And that's why people don't make it, and we almost kind of fell through that. We're not on the other side of it. Like, now we're still have to like keep that up, like keeping each other accountable, and like, like today, like no, absolutely no desire to go to the gym, but we're just like, no, it's on our schedule, so we're going, so. Yeah. So definitely, it's not easy. It's not easy, but is it worth it? I think it is. I think, what we're going to see on the other side of this, I think it's going to be pretty amazing. So
yeah. And I think, again, like, just kind of pointing that out, like, it's not, leaving your 9 to 5 isn't going to make your life like, oh, it just automatically becomes easy. If anything, it might become even a little bit harder. What you have to just remember is you can't fall back into, or allow yourself to fall back into, like, well, I guess I'll just go back to that because that's just what I know, what I'm comfortable with. Growth is painful, and it's scary, and it's stressful, and you cry at night, but in the end, it's just, when you think about it, it's just so much more worth it. So
Yeah, but again, if you do end up going back and and that brings you peace, then that's exactly what you're supposed to be doing, so definitely not trying to shame anyone, just more of like, if you tried it and it don't work, then stick to it, stick to that what people, don't do what everybody else does just because you think that's just the only way. Yeah. Go against the grain, and I think it'll be worth it.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't chase the money. You find yourself.
Yeah, that's another one.
A lot of people just chase the money, and they're like, I got in this career. Like, why'd you get into that? Oh, it made a lot of money. I was guilty of that. And it's like, but do you want to do that? Oh, no, I don't want to do that. It's like, well, why are you doing it then? Like, so yeah, but. Either way, so yeah, I'm sure there's a lot more that we would love to talk about, and like we always say, if we want to get feedback, we're going to set that up somehow, some way, so we can get you guys' comments on the episode. But we'd love to hear what you guys would have to say about it, or if you're going through it, what it looks like for you.
And then just know, like, everything that we're talking about, it's not because we're experts on it, it's just our own experiences. And, we're like, again, like I said, we're not on the other side of this, yet.
Yeah, exactly.
But we're just sharing our experiences. So
exactly.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for listening. We're coming to the end here. We just want to say we hope you guys have a beautiful day wherever you are at, wherever you're listening from. And we hope to see you guys back on the next episode.
Yeah. See you guys soon.
Bye.
Bye.